Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear rail supporters. A very warm welcome to the series of UNIFE webinar in the context of the European Year of Rail. I'm Roger Dirksmeyer, Chair of the UNIFE SME Committee, member of the presiding board of UNIFE, as well as the Managing Director of FOCTEC Fire Protection, an IRIS-certified SME from Cologne in Germany. I'll have the pleasure to be your moderator today. And I'm really excited that we have the great opportunity to push the SMEs a little bit into the front during these hard times also. Today's webinar is dedicated to the SMEs, so the backbone of the rail industry. And the SMEs are in fact, keeping the rail supply industry on track, despite numerous challenges at this time taking place in all different areas. So I think we will focus today maybe mostly on the positive opportunities we have in on the European level. In today's webinar, we will hear a keynote intervention from the European Commission's Directorate General for Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship and SMEs from DG GROW, and which will present relevant EU policies and strategies impacting the industry of the mobility ecosystem, as well as 3 UNIFE SME members, which will showcase best practices in the field of innovation, sustainability, and working with EU funding. So we will give an overview of the opportunities which we can provide or can take from the European level. I'll introduce you our panelists in a minute, and I do hope we will have a very exciting discussion afterwards. Before we start, let me remind you about very simple housekeeping rules. I will kindly ask everybody to keep their microphone muted and their cameras off. Please use the Q&A function to ask your questions at any time, and we will answer them progressively. For the speakers, I will ask them to switch on the cameras only when they are taking the floor for their 5 to 7 minutes presentation. And later on, when everyone is finished with the presentations, and we proceed into the group discussion. As you know, our UNIFE colleagues will be moving the slides for you and taking care about the technical background here today. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the panelists of today. In the first place, we have Mehdi Hossein. He's the deputy head of unit in the team dealing with the mobility ecosystem in DG GROW, the Commission's department responsible for the internal market, industry, entrepreneurship, and SMEs. Mehdi is a long-staying commission official with more than 25 years of experience, including also other important roles in the DG competition. Additionally, as a second speaker, then we have the pleasure to have Simone Durazani, Chief Executive Officer and Technical Director of Tesifer. He holds a PhD in Geodesy and Geomatics at the Politecnico di Milano, and he has more than 20 years of experience in railway signaling systems and telecommunication systems. Following on, I'm happy to introduce Hans-Peter Wittler, Sales Manager Railway from Elkowire Rail GmbH in Germany. Hans-Peter is responsible for copper and copper alloy cables, as well as contact wires in Western Europe, Americas, and for special projects. Among his extensive experience, we can highlight also that between 2000 and 2004, he was the head of engineering for the overhead contact line for the high-speed line between Madrid and Barcelona. Last but not least, we have today with us Thomas Krotscher, Sales Director at the Altis Group, and he's staying for last 8 years being responsible for the business development and the sales team. From the beginning of his career, he has been connected with design and implementation of advanced information systems for transport and logistics. During the time, he achieved deep experience in transport and logistic processes, including both technical and commercial aspects. And then we are also very happy to have our UNIFE Director General, Philippe Citroën, with us, and he will wrap up our event by sharing some concluding remarks with the panelists and the audience at the end. I believe we are set up so far, and we can start with the presentation. Please, Mehdi, the floor is yours, and thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much, Roger, and thank you for this introduction and for reminding that I'm a long-standing official, which is a nice way also to say that I'm now quite old also. But indeed, what I would like to say also is that I'm relatively new. I have to admit that I'm relatively new to the world of rail supply industries. Because you know, it's about just a bit less than a year now, but that I had the chance, despite the crisis, to have quite in-depth introduction through the contact with stakeholders, with UNIFE, and also recently with a meeting of the rail supply expert group. So what I have learned recently, and also during a recent visit at CIFER, is that SME, and maybe more than in other parts of the whole mobility ecosystem, they play a vital role, and they continue. I mean, they have certainly shown that during the crisis, they have not only demonstrated resilience, but also agility to navigate through the pandemic. And I think this should be noted, because this is not always the case in all the other ecosystem. Voilà, next slide, please. So first, maybe also to explain you and to inform you about how we see SME at the Commission, and also in particular in the context of the rail supply industry. I mean, this figure, you know them already, so I'm not going to discuss them in greater detail. What I would like to say is that there has been already some reflection that was engaged in the context of the rail supply expert group at the Commission. There was, you know, that there was this study that was conducted in 2019, and that identified all the main issues that were affecting SMEs. And so the issue of access to third market, financing issue, access to credit, human resource turnover, and participation in EU project. I think these are indeed important issues that we intend to look at. Right now, together with UNIFE, we are looking at the recommendation. Next slide, please. We are looking at the recommendation from the RSE expert group. You know that a total of 88 recommendations were issued in a total of 10 policy areas. So we have started this work, and both on the Commission side and we received recently the input from UNIFE. So we are working on this aspect. And this is indeed things we want to follow up on. What I would like also to say is that this work that was made with the RSC expert group will certainly be also very important to feed in another process that has been launched also by the Commission, which is the transition pathway. So what next slide, please. So the transition pathway, what is it? And maybe also I think I owe you some words of explanation, because I mentioned the ecosystem, the mobility ecosystem. It's true that since the adoption of the industrial strategy in 2020 and the industrial strategy update earlier this year, the Commission now is referring to ecosystem, and for the mobility ecosystem, we have the rail, we have the maritime, and we have the automotive. And you say, but why did you include all these different sectors? It's because we consider that first, it's of course about moving goods and people, but it's also about a sector that are facing the same challenge: decarbonization, digitalization, and also resilience. And I think also what is happening now in Europe with all this issue to get raw material, to get chips, I think it's really important that we join forces and we see what issue can be tackled, you know, not only at the level of one sector, but at the overall level. So again, I mentioned decarbonization, digitalization, resilience. You see, so the idea here, this transition pathway, and I can inform you that hopefully they will be published in about 2 weeks from now. It's not a new policy document. It's just the start of a co-creation process with all the stakeholders. And I think it's particularly important that SME make their voice heard. And this co-creation process aims at identifying with everybody, and I say all stakeholders, it also, of course, include regional authorities, trade union, professional organization, to identify what is missing to achieve the digital transition. In this transition, the twin transition, in this in this transition pathway, there will be a special focus. Next slide, please. There will be a special focus on SMEs. And because we want to identify, we do want to identify which are the particular issue for the SMEs with regard to all the objective listed here. I will stop here because I think in any event, I already spoke too long. And of course, I understand we'll have more time later on with the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Mehdi, thanks a lot for that. Thank you so much for your intervention. And stay a second with me, please, before we move further to the next speaker, as I would like to ask one question. For the mobility ecosystem transition pathway, what do you think, when we can expect the publication of the staff working document and the related public consultation? So, very soon. What I can tell you is that the inter-service consultation is ongoing. So the document is still being consulted internally. We have been working very closely with our colleagues from other services, from DG Move, from the colleague also dealing with public procurement, from DG Trade. So we hope that hopefully by, I would say, second half of this month, this will be published. And once this document will be published, it will be a staff working document. And again, I think it will not be a new policy document. It will just try to map all the issue that needs to be addressed in this identification, I would say, of the transition pathway. And then you will have 2 months public consultation. The idea is that then, once you engage in this publication, of course, then we will have possibility to discuss. What we envisage at this stage is to have discussion in forums such as, for example, the Rail Supply Industry Expert Group, but there will be also discussion in other forums. And we hope to have possibly a wrap up in the context of the Industrial Forum, which is an industry forum that has been set up in the context of the industrial strategy. Okay, thanks a lot for that. And may I can add one question further. So what is your idea, or what do you think could be the intention? How can the European Commission support SMEs in their activities to access new international markets?
yes, that's of course one of the most, I think, important point. Actually, there is just not one way. There is just not one way. We are trying to do that, I would say, on a daily basis. You know that we have all the free trade agreement we are working on, and in this free trade agreement, we are trying also, you know, free trade agreement, they used to be only about tariff, not what we do. We also try to open up markets, and in particular procurement, because this is part of particular importance for the rail industry. So of course it takes time, but we are doing that, I would say, step by step. Each time we are reviewing existing free trade agreement, we are looking at that. We are, of course, with the countries with whom we have no agreement, free trade agreement, we are of course using the forums such as the WTO when we have a problem of access, and voila. So, but what I want to say vis-a-vis the transition pathway is that it will also be an opportunity, as I said, for SME to come and to present, to identify where they see they are facing particular issues. Of course, we have already some ideas concerning rail, because we had the chance to have all this work with the RSI expert group. But again, I think it's an important opportunity. And also, I forgot one important element, is that the outcome of this transition pathway, we do not want it to be just a new policy report. There will be for sure a report. But what we would like also is that it could be also the opportunity for new alliance, for new projects, and ideally what we would expect, as I say, it's not a new policy report, it's really concrete project. So what we also expect is that maybe there could be, you know, some of your companies are also providing, SMEs are also working for the automotive or for the waterborne sector. So maybe there could be new alliance or new technology that could also serve other part of the ecosystem. And this is also what we would like to generate, a quite of momentum, to see also how synergy and potential new alliance and new added value could be created. Voila.
Okay, thanks a lot for this inside view for that. And I'm really happy to hear that there's not only the idea to report and to speak about, but also have to have real actions on that, because this is what we need. So thank you very much again. And now I would like to pass over the floor to Simone from Tessifair. Simone, please, the floor is yours. And if I'm right, there we will know also something about an innovation award which you won, right?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. And I describe this innovation and the company. Okay, can you, the next slide, please? Tessifair specializes in design of railway signaling and communication plans, also for subways and trams. It has experience in design and installation, both within Italy and worldwide. Tessifair continues to expand traditional skills as well as acquiring experience in testing and commissioning of interlocking and ATP and ATC technologies. Tessifair has developed software tools for simulation and project development, together with software for intelligent management of building information modeling, documentation, and application in the field of railway technology. We are a group of 50 motivated persons, qualified and enthusiastic in the job. We believe in dedication and new ideas that bring innovation. Our main customer include RFA, Italfer, Hitachi, Alstom, and so on. Next, please. What is the innovation with SmartTrack? Nowadays, the survey data of the railway line used to implement the application software that generate the configuration of ERTMS are obtained with traditional survey methods. These require significant acquisition times in the field in the absence of trains calculation, and also provide data that require a subsequent manual processing by ERTMS designer. SmartTrack as a digital innovation reduces on-site acquisition times compatible with interruptions on the lines already in operation. The information coming from the surveys is transcoded and stored in a digital interoperability format. Our survey methodology, combined with the software platform, finally makes it possible to simplify and speed up the current configuration process of ERTMS. It also responds to the digital challenge that the European railway system has set itself. SmartTrack transforms the current process into an information technology cloud platform. Next, please. The need for interoperability between technological and infrastructural systems in international railway design requires the development of new software that collects and manages all digitalized railway information. SmartTrack is a software solution collecting, digitalizing, and managing in a unique database all railway information gathered from any type of survey. This is simplifying and speeding up the current configuration process of ERTMS system. What are the benefits? First, SmartTrack is applicable to all railway lines managed by ERTMS signaling system. Therefore, the reference market is represented by all European and international railway networks due to install the ERTMS system. We can turn to system integrators, large engineering companies, and infrastructure managers. Second, digital native data are transcoded into a unique format based on European Rail ML standard. In agreement with the strict EU technological regulation of ERTMS and enabling diverse railway applications to communicate with each other. Third, storing data to be used in a continuous maintenance of RTMS. The benefits deriving from collected data for RTMS design purpose and for infrastructure manager are very significant. SmartTrack simplifies and optimizes future maintenance on the line and on the signaling systems. These represent a huge cost for railway infrastructure managers. What is more, it also offers a better service to the final customer. 4. Complexity reduction without precision loss. With respect to the strict EU technical regulation, SmartTrack offers the same safety and reliability as requested by the regulations, while increases the time for RTMS design. 5. It also a digital transformation that drives the twin transition. 6. Time and cost reduction in all the design phases, staff, reduction costs. The breakthrough innovation of SmartTrack is related, as we said before, to time, to the quality, and also to cost reduction. Next slide, please. We won 2 prizes on the Milan Fair and the second at the Lille Fair. Next slide. Our goal is to update and optimize the survey system with the help of the most advanced 3D laser scanner instrumentation for mobile survey, and creating the basis for automatic extraction. We also want to customize the software platform data to feed the customer database for both the subsequent ERTMS design phase and its maintenance phase. Thank you.
Simone, thank you so much for the presentation. And again, my congratulations for the award also. I think it's very important also to show how innovative the SMEs are and how we can support to make our railway system even better. Before passing to the next speaker, I just would like to have a short question. Could you give us an example of how SmartTrack is used right now? Or
yes, I can. We use it in Australia on the Shortcliffe passenger line in Brisbane. Our customer was Hitachi, and the object was to upgrade an existing signaling system to ERTMS system. Other projects are in Italy on the Novara-Padova line, which is overlay of ERTMS system on a national signaling system.
Okay, so it would be also possible to use it with other applications than only ERTMS.
Yes, we are using SmartTrack with Hitachi in the ATP national system for the design and so on.
Okay, and what, just to give an idea, how can the European community help you to further develop your project?
Obviously, the development of these ideas requires time and funding. It is a privilege for a company like ours to be involved in EU community, as it opens the possibility of learning, exchanging ideas, and broadening the horizon.
Okay, Simone, thanks again. Thank you so much for the presentation and your inside views. And I would like now to give the floor to Hans-Peter from Elcowire. Hans-Peter, please, the floor is yours. It's a pleasure for us to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Roger, that you introduced me to the audience. May I just add one point, and that before I started to study at the Technical University in Germany, in Munich, high voltage and power plants, I made an apprenticeship at the German railways, and as an electrician. So I made my experience already a long time ago with the overhead contact line, with the copper that I'm selling now. This is a great experience from that time, and this gives me still a lot of help for my job to sell the copper. And by the way, also my grandfather and one of my son is working. My grandfather already a long time ago, he died, but one of my son also is making such an apprenticeship that I have done time ago. And so the Le Petit family Ferroviaire is a double sense for me. First of all, personally, but also here with our audience, we all together, we are a small and fine family in the railways. So I'm pleased to introduce Elcowire Rail in Germany. Next slide, please. We in Germany are one business unit of 6 units from the mother company in Sweden, LKY Group. So we are the business unit rail. You see it second from left on top. And we are manufacturer of contact wire and messenger wires, copper and copper alloy cables and wires for the railways worldwide. So rail is just a word that we are working for the rail, but in fact we are manufacturing and supplying all what is above rail. The other segments, the other 5 segments are in Sweden, located in Helsingborg. On the right side, you see Helsingborg. This is close to Denmark. Here you see the sea very close to Denmark on the left side. And about the tonnage, we from Germany, especially for the railway segment, we are manufacturing approximately 10,000 tons per year. And our mother company in Sweden, mainly with the left side business unit rod, where we get in the cathodes from the mining and then manufacture the rods. They are manufacturing 100,000 tons per year, so 10 times more. But again, this is not for railways. This is then for all over the world, the needs for copper. Next slide, please. So on the right side, you see an old truck, not electrified. And our aim is to electrify such lines all over the world, and not simply to electrify with the simple old-fashioned copper cables, but we introduce our sustainable solutions. And this is, in short words, to say copper alloys with a special alloy, with a special percentage of either tin or magnesium or even silver. We managed to have much less contact wire wear. So then the contact wire is lasting much longer. And this is the aim that we give through to our customers. Next slide, please. So after electrification, you see the catenary on top, which is cables and wires made of copper and copper alloy. In Germany, by the way, mainly from us, from LKY. And again, it's not only the railways, but also the tram systems that we are supplying. Also, we supply e-mobility on that new technologies on highways, for example, where trucks are moving in the north of Germany, close to Hamburg. There is one section already built, and this is a new technology. But also another segment where we are now entering is to electrify mining companies. So not the company itself, but the mine, where huge tonnage of material is needs to be taken up, and by truck, either with electrified lines or by railways. Next slide, please. So here you see the material that we are supplying. These are stranded wires, but also the contact wire. The contact wire you see here on the right in the middle, but on the picture on the right side, it's of course the contact wire close to the pantograph, and this needs to be one profile. All the other cables are stranded cables, are either standard stranded or flexible cables. And these again are either pure copper, ETP materials, or alloys. Next slide, please. So first of all, speaking about sustainability, I want to inform you about the relation railways to road. Everybody knows that railways is much more sustainable, but I think almost nobody knows the values between. So in general, we can see that the railways is 3 times more efficient than the cars that you see on the highways on the right side. Of course, this depends on which study is to be done, in which country, and which years it was done. Frequently, the railways are developing. If we get the electricity from more sustainable power plants, of course, it's even more this relation than 3 times more better. And on the other side, also, of course, the car industry is going to the future. More and more electrical cars will be on the highway, and this will also relativate the relation again. Next slide. So once when we are speaking only about railways, there is the electrified railways and the diesel railway. In this comparison, you see that the electrified lines, there are, and everybody knows this, but again, this is the relation here, between 20 and 35% less carbon waste on the pollution we face with electrical train. Again, here, it also depends again on which country you are making the study, or for which railways, if it's a tram or if it's a commuter line, or if it's a high-speed line. And if you compare, for example, cargo with other cargo from electrical to diesel. Next slide. So now, on top of all these alloys that we are much more sustainable than the pure copper, first of all, we need to get the pure copper into our factory, and which is the basis, the raw material for our products. So also here, we can have a sustainable solution. The average for the manufacturing of pure copper, and let's say the average of pollution in CO2 is 6 kilo, you see it on the left side, 6 kilo CO2 per kilogram. We, with our standards in Sweden, we get the raw material from a copper mine in the north of Sweden. The pollution is 4 kilo of CO2 per kilogram. And now we will offer to our customer even better solution with lower need for electricity and of energy, and another way of manufacturing this pure copper. And this is a benefit that we can pass over to the customer. You see it in the middle of that column, Alcowire low carbon copper profile. So it's only half of the 4 kilo, so less than 2 kilo of CO2 per kilogram of copper. Of course, kilo is a small unit, but of course, we are speaking about thousands of tons, and then it's really a factor. Taking this copper, the low carbon copper, it's slightly higher cost because of this innovation. It's just costs 2% more of the raw material, the price. Not be confused about low carbon copper. Of course, in the copper itself, there is no carbon. It's just the manufacturing process, how much carbon will be exposed to the environment. Next page. So, and here you see the difference between the solution with pure copper contact wires to copper alloy. And in our case, the last development that we made, which is a good product for our customers, that they buy it more and more, it's called Thermo. You see it in the green line. With such a product, we have energy consumption, a special energy consumption with a CO2 reduction. This reduction comes out of no need for replacement after a short period. The period, what you see from left to right, is 70 years for the product on the contact wire. And for a standard product in a standard line, after about 20 years, you need to replace the contact wire. So this is a cost-effective, also again, CO2 pollution to the air. On top of this, there is also another point benefit with a reduction of CO2 because of less contact wire wear. If you have less contact wire wear, then the cross profile lasts longer than for the conventional contact wire. And that means if it lasts longer, the electricity, the resistance is not growing up. And with the conventional contact wire, it's growing up because you have less cross section. And as a result of this higher resistance, you have more CO2 on the air. Yeah. Next page. Next page. So again, this product by Thermo is an alloy with 0.1 percentage of tin. So that means in 1 ton, we have 999 kilo of copper and just 1 kilo of tin. And as an effect, the contact wire wear is only half of it. So this is a big effect. We need to be careful if we mix too much. Other products, standard products worldwide have 2 or 3 or even 5 kilo of any material inside in this alloy. For example, copper magnesium, which is a standard for high-speed line because it's more rigid, and yeah, you can drive on higher speed on such copper magnesium contact wire. There we have 5 kilo in, and just with 5 kilo in 1 ton, the resistance is growing extremely. So it's only a conductivity of, let's say, 2/3 of a pure copper, or this by Thermo, where we have just 0.1%, and the resistance is almost equal as for the pure copper. So next slide, please. And here on the last slide, you see the difference in CO2, the saving, if we take, instead of copper ETP, the Thermo product, we have a big gap in a difference of energy loss. We have less maintenance. Of course, the first installation needs to be done. So at the end, we have approximately 70 kilogram of CO2 less with this solution on a double track, on one double track. A double track has approximately 4,000 kilogram of copper on the catenary. So that means 4 tons. So if we would add now on this saving, in addition, the low carbon copper, our material that we get now fresh from the mining, so it would mean that we have on top 4 tons multiplying with 2, which was then 8 tons of CO2 savings. So on top we have then 80 tons for such a 1 double track kilometer. You multiply with 100 for a 100 kilometer track. Okay, thank you very much. This was my short presentation, and I'm pleased to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Hans-Peter. So I think first a personal note about that. So with all those things you are doing there, what do you think about this euphoric people talking about e-mobility in automotive? While beside I think 1879, first electric vehicle was driving. What you are telling these guys, why electromobility is not so new as all they are speaking about? So I think it's always making us a little bit angry, maybe also, when they are now hyping electromobility so much, right?
And that's true. But anyhow, also in railways, we see that we can still develop and introduce new technologies. And this is our aim, not to stand at the technology that we have had 100 years ago. Of course, also 100 years ago, we had electrified lines. And this is really good to say also to the customer and to the world, let's say. But again, we always need to be innovative. We never stand still. And this is our must for the future.
I fully agree by 100%. Then in which countries do you notice a run to sustainable solutions of the overhead contact line systems?
Of course, mainly in Europe. And inside Europe, I remember one of the tenders already 10 years ago in the Netherlands. The Netherlands, they already had an evaluation system with maybe 20 or 25% giving points to a sustainable solution. And slowly and step by step, also other European countries are coming along to this solution with evaluation criteria on sustainable solution. Recently, we received a tender from SNCF from France, and also there, the sustainability is a big point. But again, all over Europe, it's coming more and more. And we intend to persuade also, and we will persuade also customers worldwide.
During these days, especially, we discuss a lot about the energy costs. So electrical power is getting more and more expensive. What is your expectation for the electrification of railways and LRTs from this point of view?
Yeah, that's true. Energy is costing more and more, and also the raw material will not be cheaper in the future. According to our investigation and experience that we have heard that the copper need for the next 30 years will be as much as humans have digged out the last 2000 years. So the next 30 years, if you imagine, we will need so much copper as we have digged out ever. So this is a huge industry. And by the way, one information out of the mining, this is open mining normally for copper, you get just slightly less than 1% of copper of the material. So it's energy consumption that we have a huge energy consumption for digging out and then manufacture or preparing this pure copper, and then out of the pure copper of the cathodes also our material.
Well, okay, thanks also for this inside information, because this for sure very clearly to state I didn't know. So thanks a lot also for that. Thanks for your presentation, for your quick answers. We will see later again in the group discussion. And I would like to hand over now to Thomas. So please, Thomas, now it's your part. Very happy to count with you today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, UNIFE, for having me, and Roger for a nice introduction. I would like to share our practical SME experience with the concerning Europe Facility Program. Maybe can I ask for the next slide? Connecting Facility Program CEF is a fundamental funding program of the European Union to further develop the European transport system, besides other areas like energy and telecommunication. Next slide, please. Very briefly about our company, for those who are not familiar with us, Altis Group is a private medium-sized group of 6 companies based in Olomouc in Czech Republic. We have branches in Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary. Our core business is a design and development of advanced IT solutions for planning, operating and commercial information systems for transport and logistics. Our solutions are implemented in 26 countries and used by more than 1,000 companies in Europe, Asia, and Northern America. Next slide, please. Well, so now let me introduce one of our CEF projects in which we took place. We submitted the project proposal within the CEF core in 2016 with the title, The Implementation of Tough TSI and at SME Railway Undertakings. The beneficiary of the CEF funding was our company, Altis Group, but the end users of the implemented solution was 10 small railway undertakings in Czech Republic and Slovakia. I don't know if all of you are familiar with TSI TUF. So very briefly, TSI, technical specification for operability, is, let's say, a list of obligations which should be covered to enlarge the interoperability of rail transport in European Union. One part of it, it is the TUF, which is the telematic applications for freight services, so-called TUF. TUF is a regulation that specifies the unified obligations, especially for railway infrastructure managers and railway undertakings operators in the domain of IT solutions, and particularly in electronic communications among them and with their clients. Anyway, let's get back to our topic. Before we started the project, the 10 end-user companies had been using one of our information systems for the railway operation. And during the 3-year duration of the project, we planned to implement to them a complex solution which would solve those TSI TUF obligations. Next slide, please. Well, here we can see the complete list of issues that we had to solve during the implementations. Let me explain some of them. The first one, common interface, provides a secure communications platform between the RUs and operation system and the other sides, so the infrastructure managers and their clients. Further, I would mention the rolling stock reference database. TSI TUF defines the obligations also for wagon keepers, and railway undertakings are usually wagon keepers too. So the obligations is to keep mostly the technical data concerning the rolling stock and providing them for the railway undertakings who need them for their operations, for the planning and making the operations in practice. In the second group, there are interfaces concerning the consignment nodes and the wagon movement data, which are interchanged among railway undertakings and their clients also. The third and fourth group covers the integrations between infrastructure manager and the railway undertaking. So it includes the communication concerning ordering the railway path, the path request, provision of information before train departure and during the train run, the train composition, train ready, and train running messages. Through the service disruption information message, the infrastructure manager informs the RU about the train running interruptions, which can happen during the running. And finally, the estimated time of interchange and arrival are messages that are interchanged mostly between the railway undertakings and the final client. Next slide, please. So what is not always the good practice we made during the project? Maybe you can click once more. Yeah, thank you. We had actually still have to face some challenges. First, the TSI TUF itself. Although the idea of TSI TUF is more than 40 years old, it is still under construction. The TUF specifications are continuously revised. For example, now, next version of TSI TUF is going to be published next year. Additionally, many RUs and some infrastructure managers have still not implemented TUF yet. What about the CEF experience? Implementation of this wide range of obligations is, especially for small and medium-sized railway undertakings, very expensive. If we look at the side of implementation, this kind of information system, and in comparison with the amount of money they can use, it is really difficult. So CEF gives the railway undertakings and infrastructure managers the possibility to cover part of their expenses. What I would underline is simple, and what I would underline is a simple administration and very good communication with SMEs, of course. This is quite important because, of course, the process of creating the project and also administration of the project takes some energy, and this is very important that the support of SMEs officers is very good. Next slide, please. Some conclusions concerning TAF. Well, maybe one more click. Yeah, thank you. I have mentioned before that via unification of information interchange within the EU railway market, it supports interoperability and creation of a single European railway area. So this is, let's say, general information, general task that we want to make in practice, and I think it's starting to work. The CEF project has finished, but the life for us goes on. So what is still in front of us? It is necessary, first of all, to stabilize the TSI-TAF changes and finish the whole process. A good example of an issue in front of us is the unified train ID. Just to explain, if there is an international train, each infrastructure manager uses a different train identification at the moment. And it's still in front of infrastructure managers to unify it. And you can imagine how this makes the data interchange between RUs and infrastructure manager make difficult. It is also necessary to finish the TSI-TAF implementation at all players. I have mentioned it before, both infrastructure managers and the railway operators. But as there are incentives, including the next CEF calls planned for 2022 and 2027, I can say that is on a good way. Okay, next slide, please. Well, thank you very much for your kind attention. I tried to be short, so thank you again.
Thank you so much, Thomas. And before I will come back with 1-2 questions to you directly, I just would like to remember the audience that there's a Q&A button to send us your questions, which will we answer afterwards in the discussion group. Thomas, on the Connecting Europe facility funding, do you have more experience working with such EU-funded projects?
Yes, I have been speaking about one of our projects. However, there are several other in which we are involved. This one was concerning or targeting on SMEs, on small companies, because for them it's quite difficult to achieve a large, from their point, a large project. So, but we also participate in the projects with the large companies like infrastructure managers in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and large railway undertakings, for example, the PKP Cargo International, Slovak private Slovak cargo railway undertaking. So we are trying to be involved in many projects.
Okay, and what tips you would like to give to the audience in order to work with the EU CEF funded projects?
Well, EU CEF is still running. It's a nice, let's say, a nice time from this point of view in front of us. What tip I would give would be to be ready, to be prepared for with your projects in advance. because of course it takes some time until you create the documentations and so on. So be in touch with your clients, discuss the topics that are necessary to be solved, and prepare the projects in advance. This will give you a possibility of a quick reaction to new calls. Actually, now we are in the period of opening a new call. I think in January next year, there will be a new call closed, and in the next 3 years or several years, actually up to 2027, there will be several other calls. So be ready. That's my tip.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. And now I would like to open the group here, asking our guests to come back to the screen, activating your cameras and maybe also the microphone.
Okay.
Just checking about questions coming in. As long as I cannot see directly some of them, may want a question first to you. We heard a lot about innovation, sustainability, financing. What would be the best access for an SME to find this information? Where can search for to find all these opportunities the European Union is offering for us?
Yes, I think it really depends from a member state to another. There is no one single solution. It will really depend on the way the member state is organized. I would say that very often you can find a lot of this information at regional level. But again, it really depends. I come from a country that is very centralized, and I can tell you that, for instance, in France, most of this is managed at a national level, but you have also funds that are available at regional level. What you have to know, and I think it's a very important message, it's true that we are talking a lot about European funds, but the funds, usually they are managed at national level. It's the member state that will be responsible for disbursing the fund and for selecting the project. So what is important is that you are in contact with the right level, the authority that is managing the fund at national level, and then it can be an independent agency, it can be a region, it can be a ministry. But I think there is sometimes this idea that we control everything from Brussels. It's true that we put the budget in motion. We make the framework, but really I think it's important that very often decision is taken at national level, be it for state aid or sometimes be it also for the funds that are dispersed in the context of other policies. So I think this is quite important.
Yeah. Because
I agree on this. May I add, Roger?
Please.
Yeah, I agree on Mehdi. Of course, there are several tenders national-wide, and but on top, I need to say that most of the tenders are under European law, and of course, that it's very important and it's a good information for us always to have such information when there are financing streams from out of the European community. And that's why I think it's very important always to have a good networking amongst us in our team, in the SMEs, but especially to the UNIFE. So this is a propaganda for the UNIFE, let's say, to say you are good. And of course, networking on all over streams to the customer and so on. Of course, we, the small companies, we get oft contracts from the larger players, the big players like Siemens, Alstom, and so on. And they get the funding from the EU, but we have a profit out of this at the end.
Okay.
Okay, if I may say, yes, fully agree. Indeed, it's also very important also to share experience. I mentioned, you know, a lot of projects indeed are at national level, but you have also some other project like Horizon project that can be, of course, at EU level. And then indeed, it's important to share experience with sometimes larger company and also with other players. And not only, I would say that sometimes in particular for Horizon project, they also involve academia. And sometimes you have universities, research institute that have also a lot of experience. So, and I would like to say, especially for this project that involve research and development, it's also very important also that you have also some backing from well-known research institution. I think this is always a plus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe just shifting over to Thomas. Thomas, how you found your these sources where you were working in, like CEF, how you get this access to these funded projects?
As I said before, we, besides others, provide services for small railway undertakings, mostly because they are small. In Czech Republic and Slovakia, there are more than 150 railway undertakings, and usually they are very small. And for them, it's quite difficult to even watch and check if there are something like that. This was, let's say, an push from that side to help them with this kind of funding. So we focused on this possibilities, like let's say 20 years ago, where even when we as a Czech Republic were not in the European Union, but even in the previous time, there were some projects which we could use for this. So actually, we were pushed from the side of our clients, and of course, trying to help them to help them, and finally to help us, because the money that they use at the end comes to us as a supplier of them. So we actually created a group of people who were responsible for this EU funding, and then not only EU but also regional funding, because as said before, in Czech and Slovak states gives some local money in this area. So we tried to watch these possibilities, and also to make some to put some let's say ideas to make it more more convenient and easy to get to the final beneficiaries. So we are also in contact with the Ministry of Transportation, for example, and give them some ideas how to make it more convenient.
I think there are two big topics for the SMEs. First of all, to find the information to get the access, and then the efforts during the process for giving information and until it's approved to get some funded money. With one sentence, Thomas, how big was the effort to get into such a project like the ones you presented to us? You know, we think always in man days or something like that.
Well, I didn't have this number, unfortunately. Yeah. But as I said, as we were ready, we expected that this will come. So we tried to be ready for the CEF calls, for example, and try to communicate with our clients in advance. So it was not that difficult. Yeah, we were ready, and let's say within 2-3 or maybe 1-2 months, we were able to make a proposal or to get to go.
To simplify this process was also a point what we always mentioned from the SME side, to make it most easiest. Of course, we cannot avoid any work on that, that's very clear. But on the other side, it should be as easy as possible, as the SMEs does not have so much resources just on this topic, right? So, but we can see also that there is a transformation for some parts. If I refer to the page, access to finance, for example, where you get a great overview about different financial programs which you can access to, or even to simplify for SMEs things like the IRIS procedures for IRIS certification, for example, where now, and there I would like to make a short reference to the webinar, which was beginning of October. We can see still in the internet, where the SME guideline was presented based for the IRIS certification rules. So I think there's a very big step done also to help SMEs to get into this certification process, which will help also to bring the competition on the right level and to make maybe even such things more sustainable. But Simone, one question also to you, because we spoke with you about the innovation into this market, and how do you feel the feedback from the market in the conflict between innovation and standardization? I think this is one big part for us, that when we come up with new ideas, first question is in regard to which guideline or standard?
I think that the new ideas was born from an idea of standardization of the process. We deliver a lot of design for our customer, so it's very important to maintain a standard. Okay, and our new ideas is a new process of digitalization and standardization. So innovation is not different from standardization, is a twin. Okay, because in the industry it's impossible to innovate without standardization. Okay.
Hans-Peter, do you agree to that?
Oh yes, yes. Standardization is important, and yeah, of course, every project is tricky on its own side, and one need to have all parameters in mind how to achieve the best goal.
Yeah, because one of the images sometimes out there is that railway is quite old-fashioned with a lot of standards, and of course all the people does not know how innovative it is at the end. But of course we have also sometimes this conflict to transfer new ideas which are especially coming from SMEs to the bigger companies, to the operators, and how to implement them to the market, right, Simone?
Yes, at the beginning, railway don't want the innovation, okay, because has a good feeling with the old standard. But with this new PNRR and the new investment, there is the need to deliver more plans, to deliver it quickly. So it's very important to combine the respect of the old standard of RFI or another railway manager with an innovation, because it's impossible to realize a lot of plans in short time without a new process, I think.
Thank you very much.
One point to add, of course, we have so many different standards in all the countries. And it was really a big job the last 20-25 years to standardize this in a European standard, AEN standard. So old-fashioned or not, but it was a big task, and we have reached this. And if you just imagine the interoperability of railways in Europe, so you can drive with 3 different voltage with 1 locomotive from France to Germany, and all this is possible. So this is really innovative, I think.
Well, thank you very much also, Hans-Peter, for this additional comment. I fully agree to both of you, Simone and Hans-Peter. And it's really important to transfer this message to outside of the railway family, let's say, how innovative and how important we are. But especially UNIFE is working a lot on that, as we all know. And this is exactly the right time point to say from my side, thanks a lot for your presentations, for your comments, for the exchange now here. Please stay healthy, stay on track, and let's move the things forward. And I would like to hand over to our UNIFE Director General, Philippe Citrin, for the final remarks.
Well, thank you very much to you, Roger, for this successful moderation today. And of course, many thanks to our speakers, Mehdi, Simone, Hans-Peter and Thomas, and to everyone who connected today for our webinar. I was very impressed by the quality and the importance of the exchange of views you had between yourself. As it has been said, SMEs are a crucial element in order to have a competitive European rail supply industry, which is a crucial component of European industrial growth, jobs, and innovation. And we know that during this pandemic period, you really have to fight, and it's quite impressive to see the good results that you have been able to get. But we are also very happy that SMEs make up approximately 1/3 of UNIFE's 100+ membership. It's quite important. For UNIFE, we will continue making our best to support them in a wide range of topics. We also look forward to continue our excellent cooperation with DG Grow, for example, on the work of the expert group for the rail supply industry, which has been presented by Mehdi. We will soon start reflecting together on the implementation of the 88 recommendations that the expert group provided, and which many of them will have a positive impact on SMEs, as been mentioned, like standardization, access to finance, access to international market, support to innovation, and many others. And it's also important to see what's going to happen on the ecosystem and transition pathway, but we already had some information from Mehdi. And particularly on the topic of innovation, you know that the successor of Shift to Rail came to life on the 1st of December. This is a flagship research and innovation program jointly supported by European Commission and the rail industry. And don't forget that this is really very important for the SMEs world, because in the past Shift to Rail, a lot of SMEs, research centers, university have been part of the program. So I really think now that everything is starting again with this new Europe's rail joint undertaking, that the SMEs must be very informed, and at the level of UNIFE will pass all the information and be very active. Finally, I think one of the most important topics was about funding, financing our projects. You know that we have the National Recovery Plan, you have the first structural funds, we have CEF, it has been mentioned during the debate, and this is really where we hope to be able to give you a lot of information, and we already have at the SME committee level a presentation by the Commission on the tools, the financial tools which are put in place. So, dear friends, our European Year of Rail is coming to an end. You know, the next year will be a youth year for the EU. But what we can say is our journey does not stop here. From UNIFE, together with the SMEs, we'll continue to proactively foster an environment within the Green Deal, which is one of our priority. The Fit for 55 is also very important for us, and of course we have to know that the aim is to have climate neutrality by 2050 in the EU. So I would like to thank you again for your participation. Thank you again, Roger, for the moderation. So the only thing I can say, because we are in another wave of COVID, stay healthy, take care, and see you soon. Goodbye, and thank you again for being with us. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.